Hey everyone, DB here, back again with another review of The Walking Dead. Sorry for the minor delay, but if you guys don't already know, the Oscars were this past Sunday, so I was watching that. And I also did this video with my best friend Lucy, and the video is announcing the giveaway winners as well as talking about the Oscars. So if you guys have not checked out that video already, be sure to check it out. It's the last video I posted. Check that out. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this new episode, which is the 12th episode in Season 4, entitled Still, which leads me to what might be a bit of a complaint of mine in terms of the show as a whole, not so much of the content of this episode or any episode in general. Can the writers please come up with a much more creative title for their episodes instead of just this one word that is a word that either describes a particular action or a line that a character said in the episode, but it doesn't really have to do with the moral of the story or the main focus of the episode. Still. But with that aside, this episode focuses on two of our survivors, and one of them being a fan favorite, Daryl and Beth, and what they have been doing ever since we last saw them in that very clustered episode, which you guys already know how I feel about that. So you can obviously tell that I'm actually going to enjoy this episode because the entire episode just focuses on them too. But I'm going to go ahead and be honest, I was really worried during the first third of this episode. The first 15 to 20 minutes of this episode, I was sorely disappointed because it's nothing but them just going from point A to point B without any sort of character development. And on top of it all, it's all so that Beth can have her first alcoholic beverage. I mean, that kind of irritated me a little bit because I was fearing that Beth was going to be the next Carl. Hey, I can handle myself. And then she can't. She gets attacked by walkers left and right, and Daryl has to come in and save her. Now, granted, there were moments where Daryl kind of paid attention to how she was handling herself and said, okay, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and let you take care of yourself. And she does, but there's moments where you can easily tell that she's just way over her head. I mean, if they were like traveling and they managed to find alcohol along the way, then I would have understand that. But when you make that your priority to risk your life just for a drink, I just found that very, very hard to connect with, especially in Beth. And that was about it for the first third of this episode, so I was really beginning to worry, and I'm like, oh man, I'm hoping that this episode picks up with some form of character development or some really good horror action. And I'm happy to say that once they get to that cabin where they kind of hold up, is where the episode really picks up, not only in terms of pacing, because I was surprised to see this episode end. I was expecting it to keep on going, but lo and behold, the end credits started rolling, and I was like, wow, that's it. So I thought that the pacing not only picked up, but also I was demanding character development, and the writers listened to me and gave it to me in the form of not only Beth and Daryl also giving some more backstory to where they come from and where they were before this whole thing broke out, but also really humanizing Daryl and making him more of a character instead of just another Michonne, just not talking at all and just killing walkers and saying rah, rah, rah. Because even though I was enjoying Daryl going back to his much more cynical ways like it was at the beginning of the show, I still wanted to see that new Daryl that really started to get emotionally attached to all these characters, to the point where if something were to happen, despite putting on this facade of not being affected by it, you can kind of tell deep down inside that he is just crushed, and we see that in this episode. And oh my god, I really do believe that this episode redeemed itself very well. And I love that the whole facet of Beth wanting a drink kind of came back in full circle and actually became a really prominent plot device, to where it really made these characters bond with one another and share stories over drinking games and whatnot. So I really enjoyed where this episode ended up. Now, why did they burn the cabin instead of just holding up there instead of, I don't know, there were some things in this episode that I felt just didn't make sense, but they're literally a couple, like the burning of the cabin at the end. If I was them, I would rather just hold up instead of just moving on, because sure, it's supposed to illustrate some sense of hope that these people are still alive because they technically don't know if they're dead. So I kind of understand it in that sense, but I really do think they should have held up at least a couple more nights and found some food, gathered it up, and then be on their way instead of just immediately just burning the whole thing down and saying. And on the note of things not making full sense, can a mirror really deflect the heat of the sun? I really don't think it can. And that's it for this episode. There was really not a whole lot to it, but the pacing was really what redeemed the episode. Because if it wasn't for that character development, I really think that this would have been one of the most disappointing Walking Dead episodes in the entire show. But fortunately, because of the backstory that they gave to not only Daryl and Beth, but also that scene, that very emotionally charged scene where Daryl is just going off on Beth and forcing her to learn how to shoot the crossbow. It was very brutal to watch, and I think it was not only a testament to how great of an actor Norman Reedus is, but also that the writers have a few things up their sleeve to keep the show from becoming very derivative. So I'm going to go ahead and give still an 8 out of 10. I really did enjoy this episode, but I really wish that they would have injected some more fuel, so to speak, in that first 20 minutes. And if they had done that, this would have been just a complete package of an episode. But I still liked it in the end, and I think it did end on a rather hopeful note, because you can kind of tell that these characters are keeping hope alive, that the other characters that they've grown to love are still alive, and that's kind of what this episode, the tone that episode left off with at the end, with that song playing and the cabin going up in a ball of flames. So I really liked it. So let me know what you guys thought of this episode, and if you guys have not done so, please check out my latest video with my special guest Lucy, in which we announced the winners of the giveaway, as well as the Oscars that happened over the weekend. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.